Hi guys, first of all, I started Gawbl. Gawbl was, my startup. I started hardly in January this year. And what happened is, I started brainstorming a couple of things that I wanted to start up with. And I took up a couple of areas that I was passionate about. I started saying that, hey, food is something that I'm passionate about. Let's be the food industry. And what happened later is then I started up in January. I started hiring. I started building, I launched, and in about a month ago, my startup got acquired by Times Internet. Times Internet has this division called Times City. They actually, award and give away prizes to a lot of restaurants, and also they have a mobile app. So part of the acquisition is that me and my team come into their system and redesign and rechange their whole mobile team and the way mobile is, the way people discover food and things around you. So that's where I am right now. And Gawbl, as you said, is just a very simple application. It's based on finding food based on mood. So it's a very simple thing. I mean, if you're in the mood to hog, in one click, I give you a result. That's the thing. And being my background coming from design and user experience, I utilize that key area to actually, evolve and bring Gawbl into the picture. And I'll share some more with you. Today I've been invited by these guys over here, and my topic is actually to start up quick and what it takes to actually start up quick. So I'll be sharing with you some tips. I'm still a young guy, and I've been in the industry for a while. And prior to Gawbl and Times Internet right now, I was also with Fab.com. You must have heard the e-commerce giant, which is a US-based company. I was with them from the start, and that's it. I think we'll do the presentation. Maybe this can go. I'm sure you're all cranky when our moms used to say, soup cow, you have the soup. Why, and you would be like, nahi, mere ko nahi chahiye, soup nahi chahiye, doodh nahi chahiye. And then you would be like, ye to salty hai, ye to, sweet hai. But then your mom would say that, you haven't tried this. How would you know that it's sweet, it's sour, it's tasty, it's not tasty? So, what it takes to actually be an entrepreneur is actually trying it. It's very important to taste what it tastes like to be in that position. And then knowing that, hey, is it good for you? Is it not good for you? What makes it right? What makes it wrong? What works? What doesn't work for you? And that's the example which I always take when, my mom tells me, like, and all of us, I'm sure, must have gone through this when, your parents say that, hey, you must take this, and you probably say no. So I've put up like a couple of things and a couple of areas that we kind of, a couple of areas where I identified before starting up. One is idea and execution, which is very key for any startup to actually start up. And the other stuff is finance, which of course is a back burner and a very key, important for you to actually move forward. The passion is very important. Passion is like, you got to bring in a lot of energy, you got to bring in a lot of mood, you got to bring in a lot of enthusiasm into your team, into your startup. And the last one is also your team. Your key important, execution plan depends on your team. So we'll go through the idea and execution part first. I think it's very important for each one of us to ask ourselves, like, what is the key skill sets? What am I passionate about that I can actually do the startup for a long period of time? Some people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startup people just start up and then they burn out. They actually get exhausted themselves because they're no more passionate about what they actually started with. And because the idea of a startup is actually long term, and when you start out with an idea, basically the idea does not remain the same idea as it went over the time. It evolves. You must have seen, like, what Facebook started is not what it is today. It's evolved to be much more, right? And a lot of other startups also evolve from something and they go somewhere else. So it's not just about the idea, it's about the execution, which really, really matters. And it's very important to ask again, like, what are you passionate about that you can take forward? What is your key skill sets that you can bring across to your startup? And much more.
Yeah. Talking of passion, I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So a lot of people must be engineers. How many are engineers? Techies, right? They call techies. So, and some people are engineers. People have some hobbies.
Yeah.
They pursue some hobby. They start code on weekend. They code on Saturday, Sundays.
Right.
Does anyone do this here? Couple of guys coding on Saturday, Sunday. Hackathons, participating hackathons. So, how is a startup different than doing something as a hobby? Elaborate on this thing.
Yeah. So that's a very good question actually. So when you're doing a hobby, you're just doing it for yourself, right? When you're doing kind of, because I like it, I want to do it. When you're doing a startup, you're actually thinking about what's your end user, what's your actual, market size, what's the market area, what's the penetration, how do you acquire, how do you actually get users to come and use your product is very difficult. So the gamut of what you're thinking and your level of evolves, and it's very different between a startup and a hobby. But of course, the hobby starts to actually evolve to become a startup when you take it to the next level. For example, you started up and you did some code over the weekend. You started doing some, a little kind of a few lines of code, and you said that, I'm hobby in this. I want to give some solutions to this. You find problem area in it. And that's when you realize, okay, this is the time to actually take the problem area to another level, which is a startup phase.
Question is taking to the another level. How did you decide that you were going to give up your job and everything?
Right. So, it's pretty interesting that I was in a very secure job and also in a very good position and so on. But then I decided to say that, hey, if I don't do this right now, I don't know when I'm going to be able to do it, right? So, like I said, if I don't try the soup, I would not know if it tastes good or not. And I really was sure that, my first attempt would definitely be a failure. Let's try it out. Let's give it a shot. It's not sure that it's going to be a success. It's not sure that it's going to take long and go there. But then I wanted to try it out because I had the urge inside me. And you people also, I'm sure, must be having that urge that, hey, I want to go out there and do something. I want to show the people that, hey, I have something to offer for you. And that's the kind of, urge which I'm sure many of us sitting in the room have it. And
there must be a lot of questions around as well. I mean,
yeah,
and just not the urge, there will be other things, whether you have financial independency and other kind of factors.
Right. So I'll get there a little, and in a while. Once you get an idea, so how do you get, of course you have a lot of finance thing, you have a lot of dependencies, but of course one thing is you need to have something that you're going to take forward on, and that's basically your idea. When you have an idea, what do you do next, right? You start writing a little note. It's like a product note before you release. Just imagine yourself that you're actually giving a press release before it's releasing itself. So how would your press release look like, and how would it be? Is exactly what you do. That's product note before the release itself. So the question to ask is, what if you have to high pitch your idea in one sentence? What would it be? And it's very difficult to actually put it in one sentence. I'm sure many of you must have used Angel.co. It's a site that actually puts in a lot of products across the world, and there's some awesome stuff going on out there. You'll get to know what's trending, what's being invested in the world, and so on. So over there, they actually ask you which high note in just one sentence. And if you can't say that, hey, this is my startup in one sentence, it's not yet there yet. So, you've got to actually iterate and get there. I mean, if you have to tell 10 people, you've got to say that same sentence again and again, that same word. I mean, that explains your brand. Therefore, I've given some examples over here, like, what's Foursquare? Foursquare is discovering and sharing great places with friends. That's the kind of sentence that just, explains everything about your startup. The same way with Gawbl. Gawbl suggests you food based on mood. Finished. So that's the kind of level that you've got to, get into the detail from where you start. And, now what? After you got that,
So I have a question regarding the idea.
Yeah.
So you have many ideas in your mind.
Right.
So how to identify which idea will gonna work or not?
Right. So, I do it in a kind of formula way. I'll say that, hey, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I put it aside. This is where the future is. I put it aside. I put down, I'll give you an example for Gawbl. I say I'm passionate about food. My skill sets is design and the future is mobile. Plus, plus, plus equals to Gawbl. That's what I want to do. So, if two out of the three criteria of your ideas really match with your kind of, thinking level and your, will end about a long journey towards your startup, you got to do it. Take that urge and take that level to the next. Try it out. The first idea might fail, you pivot to another one. The second one might work or might be better. You learn from the mistakes from the first one. So now you got an idea. What next, right? You kind of write down a whole list of feature sets. I mean, you got like, मेरे यहाँ पे search होना चाहिए. I need to have, a filter over here. I need to have, discovery over here. I need the user to do this. I need the user to do that. You list down everything. That's your product roadmap for your whole startup. The difficult part after that is actually to say what makes a cut to the V1, what makes a cut to the actual release of the launch product, and that's very difficult for an entrepreneur because you're in that system and you're in that space where you got to start thinking about certain questions. What's your target group? What's your end user? What's your competitors? Where are they from? What's the market size that you're going to go into? And getting a name is very important. How's your identity for your product? What is the identity speaks? How does it actually tells you that this is what the product speaks about from the symbol or the logo or the color or the name of the product? So it's key importance that you start getting into that level. And of course, prototyping and wireframing. And once you know that feature sets in your roadmap, you say that hey, these are the items that needs to go in the V1. These are the items that can go into release number 1. Then you start wireframing and prototyping. So every product has a system, and this is something that I learned while through my journey in the startup phase as well. Every system has two sides of it, which is the supply side and the demand side. And in my case, my supply side was the data of the restaurants that I needed to throw to the users, and the demand side is actually the users coming back for that data. Now it's very difficult for many startups to actually be in both places. And that's the reason if you have a co-founder or you have a team, you segregate this, you handle the supply side, I handle the demand side, that actually helps to bring the totality. Now good products like Instagram, they're totally doing crowdsourcing. You don't need to, they don't have any demand side, they don't have any supply side. They're just giving the product, people are actually demanding and people are actually contributing. They're doing crowdsourcing directly. And that's already a plus win for a big product like that. If you think about that area where your startup can actually be in only one segment, it means you're already one road ahead. Because this side is actually, when you have to deal with supply and demand, then you're kind of, you got to split your time and you got to split your resources and so on. Passion, because what I realized is there's a lot of passion that you need to bring. For example, you have a team in your startup and you go in. I realize, we have, as an entrepreneur, we have a lot of, I might say, a fucked up phase in our day. We have quite a bad day. We have quite a difficult day, and then the next day we come back to the office and we're kind of drained out. We're working from morning to late, 10 o'clock in the night, and then at night, 10 in the morning, you're back again in the office. But then you've got to come back with that smiley face because your resources, your developers, your designers, your players who are developing are actually seeing that, hey, there's nothing wrong with my startup. There's nothing wrong with the founder over here. If you actually come back with a sad face saying that, because the war tired, all that, then it actually demotivates them a lot. So passion and energy is a very big key component for any startup which you kind of bring across. And dedication and commitment is by default. So what is the one thing that actually changes and makes or breaks your startup is actually quick decisions. It's very important to take major decisions at a given point in time. And As an entrepreneur, you're actually being in different kind of shoes and different kind of, you've got to adore the multiple hat system where, you know, you're a marketing guy for once, you're actually the guy who actually sees and does the code review also, you're the guy who actually sits down and takes the interview of the guy, the candidate who's coming and actually you're going to hire. So you're kind of doing a lot of roles, right? But the idea over here is taking quick decisions and the right decisions. Now how you take the right decisions is what I generally think is that think yourself as what is the end user going to be needing for? How's the end user going to do it? What's the path actually for him to actually get to execute certain things in your product? And then you kind of and then you kind of take decisions pretty much based on that and much faster. So one thing that I realized that getting a mentor is very, very key. I didn't have the opportunity to get a mentor for the first half of my startup, and actually it affected on my cost, it affected on wrong decisions that I made, it affected on certain things that I couldn't do right, and I didn't know how the industry works. It's very important to have a guide, an advisor, someone who can actually tell you the industry doesn't work like this. You can go knock at this VC's door because this is what he's going to give you. This is what he's going to expect from you. This is how your business model should be. This is where the line is drawn, and this is where things should be. So people actually say that no, I'm very scared. I have an idea. How many of you have an idea, but then you're scared to share it to someone saying that hey, ये idea मेरा चुरा लेगा, and then you're gone. The idea gone, and he'll do it. And then it's I see a lot of that, and I've gone through that. But then I realized after being in a startup world, it's not about the idea, it's about the execution of your idea, right? As in when, right now, while we're speaking, there'll be another 100 million, 1,000 users actually thinking about the same idea, probably as you have. But how you execute it, how well you execute it, what makes the difference, what's the key aspects of your product that actually makes it work is what makes and breaks your stuff. So, and I definitely do, recommend finding a mentor from the industry who actually tells you and guides you stuff, what's right and what's wrong. And there are a lot of ways to find them. Networks and forums like this is one of them. The other way is also there is a very good startup which does, help you find mentors. It's called menti.com, MENTII.com. And I found my guide and my mentor from that startup, and they're pretty good. Yeah, menti.com, MENTII.com.
Chiragh, it would be great if you can share what exactly happened with your startup.
Yeah, so
everything that you're saying, like for example, in the previous side, I was thinking I should ask this. Like hiring people. Okay, now that's a big deal. Like in terms of, because you're like spending,
Right.
money starts suddenly flowing up.
Right.
So there is one thing that right decision thing that you said. That's absolutely the bang on question. That you never know that it's the right decision. You're just taking the decision because it's necessary at that time. Because either you have to do it or you can wait.
True.
Okay.
So hiring is a very key important thing, right? And we'll just wait for this. Hi guys, the new guys, how are you doing? All well. We were speaking about how we start up quick and what it takes to actually start up quick. And while hiring is a very key important thing, right? And it's a tricky thing. What I did is actually I asked for help. And in a startup, you basically don't want to cut costs in the start, right? You actually find out friends of friends within the network who have the skill set, and you actually bring them as consultants. And just say that, hey, you sit down with me, take this interview. First round, I observed what he actually asked the questions. The second, third, fourth, 20th round, I actually took it myself. And I actually acted as if I knew development. I told him, write down this piece of code, how do you do this logic? I didn't know jack shit about what it is. He actually wrote that time, I'm like, are you sure that's right? No, I would do it somewhere else, in a different way. So that
to begin with, how did you got those people to give that interview for a startup? Like,
Are there forums where you maintain
Okay, so
jobs?
what are the networks and stuff? There are a lot of networks which actually help, but basically there are these very key local, education places which actually teach you technology, which actually gives you education on design and stuff. I started going there, started finding raw talent over there, and started seeing that, hey, keep the minimum cost low, get a consultant on board which pays him on, some monthly basis, or promise him that, hey, you get 0.5% on my startup, and probably when I hit big, you'll get some, X amount. And so that's the kind of keep your startup pretty low, right? And promise something that hey, you'll get something in return. And go find raw talent. You have a lot of forums that is very good, as geek.com or something, which actually gives you a lot of potential job opportunities and find talent over there. I found a lot of talent over there.
So what has been your experience with you have to compare like somebody to be hired vis-a-vis a freelancing?
Yeah.
Which is better because each way you're operating with less money.
Right. So the difference between getting a freelancer and a full-time, right? There are two aspects to this. When you have full-time, you iterate faster. You make mistakes, you change. You make mistakes, you change. You're then and there, right? If you're hiring a freelancer, phone karo, kahan pe baitha hai, kab time hai, free hai, I'm doing another project, I don't have time for you, I'll allocate tomorrow, gone. And at this point in time, when you don't have your cost is actually increasing indirectly. And the second thing is, startup is all about valuation game, right? It's all about valuation. How do they value actually what's your startup and how is it work? One key aspect is actually your team members. What are their education background? Where are they coming from? What products are they working in? That is key actually to say that, hey, this developer is really good because he's worked on these kind of products. He's actually made it. He's actually he's been in a failing startup which actually pivoted to become a success story. That's actually key for a startup. And that's the reason team is a very important integral part for any startup. And I say that, invest your money in developing a great product at the start, keeping the minimum cost of your office, other stuff. As an entrepreneur, you've got your different roles, and probably there was times when I have to be a peon and actually sweep my own office. I had to do that. And I had to come back and because there was an interview in the morning, I came to the office at 7:30, swept and walked the floor and got back at 9:30 after a shower and a tea. That's the kind of things that you gotta do, man. And that's the level of So moving forward, where's the money coming from, right? I mean, a lot of us have difficulties in, where's the capital coming from? What do I do now? How do I start up? And it's kind of important for us to understand that bootstrapping actually gives you an advantage in the industry. It actually tells you that, hey, this guy is ready to leave his job. This person is actually ready to invest his money because he believes in his idea. He believes in his product. He believes in his startup. It's going to move forward. And that's the reason that those are the kind of key components that VCs and actually funding people and angels kind of see in you. That, this person has actually brought in some of his capital in place. How long can your capital go on? And those are very important aspects. There are certain things that you need to actually calculate. There are small things like uncertainty, risk. And uncertainty risk is like, if you have only one developer and yourself working on product. Before the launch and actually your product falls sick. Your developer falls sick. Not your product. Your developer falls sick and what happens then? You can't launch for another week. That's cost, right? And there are a lot of things. For example, now we're gonna be launching our product and suddenly there is floods in the city. And then you're thinking, that's uncertainty. So calculate uncertainty from before. It's very important for every startup. And when you're strategizing, keep allocation of budget for, what's your go-to-market strategy. Go-to-market strategy is before you launch, how you're going to launch. Are you going to put hoardings? Are you going to just announce people? Are you going to do Facebook ads? Are you going to have those kind of things? Those are a go-to-market strategy. You've got to allocate certain budget and thinking on that. And also, post the, post your launch phase, how are you going to get users? How are you going to, acquire users? Acquiring users is the most difficult thing for every startup actually. Most of the startups pay a lot of hefty amount to actually acquire one-on users. So how do you actually do that? And have a backup plan. It's very important to have plan B, plan C. And if you fail, if your startup fails, if your product fails, how will you pivot? When will you pivot? What is the kind of what's the next game that you're going to change? Are you going to change the whole game? Are you going to be in the same industry? You can change it. What are your key team members and what are their skills and why? What is your skill to actually change the whole game if your startup kind of fails? Team, like I said, I spoke about it already a little while ago. It's it's very important to hire fast.
We couldn't move ahead a question regarding the financing.
Sure.
So if somebody is trying to build a great product,
Yeah.
he will be able to do so in maybe 1 year, 2 years.
Right.
So how the person could be sustaining himself for so long without any revenue source or government?
Right. So, it's very difficult for you to sustain for a very long time. But the idea is to move faster. The minute you start saying something, you got to execute it much faster. The minute, if you have certain budget, plan for 6 months, plan for 9 months, plan for worst case scenario of 12 months, and then you build something. You build I had certain budget in mind, right? I put in my savings myself. I bootstrapped it for my own startup. I said that, okay, I have this X amount. It can run for this many things. But then I don't want to do certain things. I want to cut down the cost. I want to build with this much money my product and I want to launch it. Once I launch it, I know what's the market, reaction towards it. Are they picking it up? Are they liking it? Are they not liking it? If they're liking it, what can I do? Knock at VC's door, go to a bank to take a loan, ask my dad, go to a friend saying that, hey, you own this startup, probably 10%, give me some money. We'll do this together. Those kind of things, you gotta think about what are the backup plans and what can you do.
And also observed that some people do 50% of time freelancing and 50% of time they work on their own.
Yeah.
How good is that idea?
So, I kind of based that from the industry when I started.
Because if one is going to do so,
Yeah.
definitely his product is going to go to market to be much more than
Much longer.
Much longer.
And there are different aspects. I actually have one slide later which I want to tell, and it's a very important thing. When you're starting up, you've got to think about one thing that you really want to go move forward for. For example, if I am Flipkart, what am I moving towards? I'm moving towards IPO. If I'm Redbus, I'm moving towards IPO. There are certain startups who have in mind that I want to go international. There are certain startups that say that I'm launching in one city, I want to be in 5 cities. What is your actually end movement towards? And that actually determines when do you actually boost certain things. And to be honest, when you go and knock at someone who is actually going to give you money, the thing is, they will ask you is, if you can't give yourself a full time in this startup, then that means you're not believing in your startup yet, right? So that means if you're still doing that, मैं try करूँगा, मैं 2 घंटा देता हूँ, and I do it on the weekend, means you're not actually ready yet to actually fulfill and give everything that you can to your startup. So that's. And this is the exact thing that I wanted to say, that before starting up, actually have the end goal in mind. That's saying that, hey, I actually start this up because I want to be part of the industry. I want to start up because actually I want to get acquired by Google, Yahoo, or maybe small Indian players. I want to start this up because I want to show to my friends that I want to start up. Is that the reason? There are a lot of people actually do that. I want to start up because I want to actually, I want to reach 1 million users. That is aspirations, and those are targets and goals that you actually have in mind. And many people actually just get into the startup game and then they don't know where to go because there is no path to it. But if you have that end goal towards mind, this is actually your exit. When a VC starts asking you what is your exit period, when do you want to exit, this is when you say that, hey, if someone acquires me, that's my exit. If I want to go IPO, that's my exit. I want to be in 10 cities and I'll be happy, that's my exit. That's the kind of thing that you kind of say, and that's very important to have it from start. Thanks, guys. Anything? Any
Chiragh,
questions?
so when you started up, what exactly was your role? Did you anticipate that you would get acquired very soon?
So you know, I didn't imagine myself getting acquired very soon. I had 3 years in mind. I had 3 years in mind, and I really wanted to be at least in 3 cities. I told Pune, Bangalore, and I had Goa in mind, 3 youthful cities, because Gawbl was about finding new places based on mood, and it was everything about smartphones and mobile and everything about youthful. And those are the 3 cities which are very very much in my target group and so on. So I had that in mind, 3 cities, 3 years. But then it kind of didn't anticipate that things happen really fast, and it happened for good.
So you developed any kind of language?
Sorry, yeah. We'll take this guy's question first. Sorry? I think Delhi is useful. Delhi is very useful. But you know, like I said, yeah. I mean, in my startup, there's demand side and supply side, right? You know, the difficult part of being in a city like a capital city like Bombay or Delhi, and a bigger city like Bombay, is actually trying to get the data of the restaurant. I'm in the business of actually getting that restaurant data, right? Actually going and collecting that data. And at the start, when I started up, literally, me and an intern, I got an intern on board. Me and an intern went around for at least about 1.5 months while the development phase was going on, knocking at each one of the restaurants in Pune and getting a listings of about 1,000 listing restaurants in Pune, and getting every detail, tagging which mood do they actually belong to. You have a certain criteria to actually suggest to, right? If you're an end user, you need to find certain things. Where do I have food? What are the criteria for a restaurant that actually gives you all kind of facilities? So that's the thing. Yeah, sure.
Since the subject is all about starting a food,
Yeah.
my question is that how do you know that people want to see? I know as an entrepreneur, I have something in my mind, I want to do that thing. So what if I spend all my money and energy and time and effort in doing something which will do?
Right.
So what about
So there are measures to do it, and the one way to actually do it is create a very small wireframe prototype. Throw it out to the users that you think that are your kind of target group. Send it to them. There are a lot of tools over the internet which gives you and helps you.